Welcome to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater. Before we jump into today's episode, I have some exciting news for all of the parents out there who really find it challenging to make sure that your kids are actually getting all of the nutrients they need from the very limited diet that they currently have. Well, I'm thrilled to announce that I've developed a new program specifically tailored to parents of picky eaters, ARFID eaters, pediatric feeding disorders, any parents who really just want to get more nutrients into their kiddos. Unlike traditional approaches that focus on introducing new and different foods, right, which take time and patience, and of course, it's something that we do. But this program specifically focuses on maximizing the nutritional value of the foods your child is already eating, right? So this is going to decrease some battles, decreases your stress level because you're not going to feel like, oh, they have to eat it because otherwise they haven't eaten anything good today. And it allows your kids to actually focus on learning and enjoying food that they're learning about without the pressure. So we understand every day and every meal counts when it comes to your child's health. That's why we're dedicated to helping you make the most of the foods that they're currently eating, ensuring that they receive vital vitamins, minerals, and nutrients without delay. So I am hosting a free parent webinar premiering on Saturday, June 1st, 2024. During this webinar, you're going to gain valuable insights and practical strategies to transform your mealtime struggles, and it'll introduce you to our new program. Plus, attendees who stay on until the end will receive a free gift as a token of my appreciation for you joining us. So don't let another day go by without taking action to support your child's nutritional needs. Right? It affects their behavior, their sleep, how they learn, their moods. It's so super important. So register now by clicking the link below or finding details in the show notes. So let's make every meal count together. Hi, and welcome back to another episode. I am your host, Christine, and I can't wait to get chatting about the gap period, which is a term that I have coined to explain what actually it's sort of like that opportunity cost that I was talking in last week's episode, but that's what we're going to chat about today. We're going to talk about the gap period, some strategies of what to do during the gap, and some, supplements and things that, we can do in the meantime. So let's get chatting. So the gap period in picky eating. So how I explain the gap is when parents first notice that their kids are not eating the foods that they used to eat or should be eating at their age. Right. So, and then the end of that gap period would be when those healthy foods are successfully incorporated into their child's diet. Now, this period can vary greatly in length and complexity. It totally will depend on your child's specific challenges and preferences. And the best way I have found to determine how complex a child's picky eating is by using my picky eater profile, which I have created. It is a specific quiz that is exclusive to us that will give you that information. Right? So where are their challenges and how complex is it? And it'll also depend on how long they've been in this state, right? So some kids, it has literally been from birth. Some kids, it's more like 2 or 3. Some kids, and especially if this is ARFID, it probably would be a little bit later, later on in time, or kind of cropped up sort of in the middle of nowhere, right? But it might be, I don't know, a little bit later, like 5. But for the most part, a lot of our kids will, even at 18 months, sometimes the parents will say that's when they notice that the food started to drop off. So it's different for every person. Right. So, that picky eater profile, you can get that right now. Right now it is only available in our Unlocking Mealtimes parent workshop, which is available on our website under courses. I think it's $20 or something right now. So that's where you can get that. It might be available in another spot, in another place and time. I don't know. But right now, today, that's where you can find it. But I want you to think about let's think about some strategies that we can use during this gap period. And sometimes, you've even started feeding therapy within that time, right? But still, within that time, even when you're in feeding therapy, there's still, it's not this like immediate, like, okay, like now they're eating. There's still like this period of time where they're just learning about food and they're getting used to the idea of new foods and incorporating new foods. And especially kids with a fear of like they will not put that food in their mouth, or they will cry, or they'll throw it, or they're just or they'll have a mental breakdown about it, or they'll argue with you, but they are not eating that food. They're not going to taste it for any reason, right? That there's like that fear around, like, I can't do it. So when you have that, you're not just going to, even if you start feeding therapy tomorrow, it's not like by the end of the week they're going to be eating a whole meal, a plate of vegetables. Like that's just not going to happen. And anyone who tells you that that is going to happen is straight out lying to you, because I have never ever seen that happen ever. Um, Unfortunately. So there's this period of time where kids are not getting the nutrients they need. And if you go back to last week's episode, I actually tried to quantify, you know, how many, like, it's in the thousands and hundreds of thousands of micrograms of different vitamins that are missed over the course of a year. And then if they're picky for several years, it's times however many years, right? So if you want to listen to that episode, go back to last week's episode. I believe, let me see, what's it called? I'm trying to think. It's called The Opportunity Cost of Waiting on Picky Eating. So check that out. And I talk about that specifically there. But yeah, so okay, so let's talk some some strategies. So first I'll just like acknowledge that like it is a really frustrating time to be a parent in this little limbo section where your kids are not eating, they're not eating great, you want them to eat better. There's like battles, there's stress, there's usually tears between one or both parties, parents and kids. So I know that it's like a really tough period for parents. So I do like, right, the goal of my webinar, the course that I created, the books, right, it's to ease the stress during this time on so many different levels for your kids and for you, right? And I want you to focus on, well, hopefully you're getting hopefully you're either in our course, Piggy Plate to Clean Slate, where we do take you through that whole process from start to finish, or maybe you go to feeding therapy privately or in your hometown or whatever, right? So my goal is to take that period of time that you're in and get your kids the nutrients that they are missing from their diet into their current repertoire of foods, while you're learning to get them to like other foods. Because like I said, it takes time, but it also takes the pressure off, right? Because if you know that their meals, you know what, we've done the course, we've got it, their meals are pretty solid. I know they're getting in what they need to get in, at least minimally. And they're doing okay. But we've got now these strategies and we're in the therapy and we're learning, and we're seeing progress with incorporating new foods slowly, right? But at least I know that their baseline every day is solid, right? That decreases the stress, and that allows the strategies, the therapy to all just kind of take hold a little bit better, because there's less resistance around it. And I've talked about this before, but I don't know if you've ever noticed, but when you want something really bad, you're like, so it's almost like when you have sand in your hand, right? If you go to the beach and pick up sand and you squeeze it really tight, a bunch of sand is going to fall out because you're resisting. Like the more you want it, it's like the quicker it disappears, the quicker it falls away. And that resistance is so true. No matter what topic, it does not even have to be about parenting or kids or whatever. It could be about money. It could be like, oh, I feel like the more I try, the harder or the more I wish for this, or as much as I try to hold on to this money, it just seems to disappear. And it's all centers around resistance to that. Because when you want something so bad and there's fear around it leaving, it just creates this like wall, this energetic wall around it. And it makes it really, really hard for you to actually use the strategies and to start seeing the success because there's so much stress and pressure around it happening, or it happening in a certain way or the way you want it to, or so when you have this solid baseline of like, you know what, I know that they're getting the nutrients they need, they're solid. We could work on this almost like as independently as like, hey, we're learning, we're working towards this goal, but there's none of the pressure of that. I really need them to get this in because I want them to be healthy, or I want them to, you know, learn better, or whatever. So I feel like it just takes that pressure off by having this baseline of their food, right? Um, so during this time period, I want you to focus on incorporating nutrient-rich ingredients into their current familiar dishes. So, but we have to do it in a way where the kids are not going to um, notice a big change in taste, right? Because if it tastes different, they're not eating it. Not happening. And it can't visually be very different either because um, I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of our picky eaters are like visual ninjas, and they will literally just inspect a food and pick it up and turn it. And they're looking for any sign. They're like these detectives, like these super sleuth detectives with this like laser vision focus to and making sure that there's nothing changed about it. Okay, so we need to, if we're going to do this, we need to make foods that are more nutrient dense without freaking out the kids that are going to make them drop the foods or hate this, or so that's what my program is. I'm trying to teach you to how to do that in a way that works for your kids and is easy for you to do as well. And then the other piece of that is I give you in our program, right, in the course that I've just created, is the gradual exposure and of new foods, right? So that's the food hierarchies that you get. So you get 3 food hierarchies in the program. And it is specifically, if you've never heard me talk about food hierarchies or food chaining, then I'll explain it really quick. So basically, like if you have, and you've probably, if you follow people in this feeding world, you've probably have seen things like this. Okay, so if they only eat goldfish, then there might be, maybe like an Annie's bunny, and then maybe there's like a different shape, or maybe there's a different brand, and then it's almost like a chain, and it's like, okay, well, by the end they're eating carrots somehow. So it's but there's a specific sort of way to do it, right? So I was talking to someone once, and they were like, well, how do I know like which foods to put on their plate? And I was like, well, I mean, of course you can put any food on their plate, but I will tell you that you're gonna probably have more luck if you work with the sensory properties of the foods that they're currently eating. And that's not something parents are trained in, it's something I'm trained in. So if you go to a feeding therapist that's been trained in SOS, they know how to make a food hierarchy for you to give, for your child. But you wouldn't necessarily know how to do that, right? So that's where I come in. So you get 3 food hierarchies. So I sort of show you the progression of how to get them from this food that they have to all different new foods, right? So that's something that you get in the program specifically, but we do want to, I want to stress that this program is not a permanent solution, right? This is a gap. This is filling a void, a gap in time where your kids are not eating the right foods. They're not eating healthy foods, the foods you want them to eat, right? It's to get them the nutrients they need while they are gradually learning and about new foods. So it's this like it's like they're working hand in hand, right? So I'm not saying like I don't want you to work like, oh, you're not going to need feeding therapy after this. No, I think you still do. I think you still need to learn how to get them to like foods, because there are strategies and there are different things you're going to have to do depending on their picky eater profile. But in that interim period, I want them to get the nutrients that their body needs so that they can grow, so that they could even better absorb, right? Think about it. If their mood and attention is off, it's actually going to affect how they're learning about that new food, right? So if they're more regulated and grounded and stable, because they're getting their body's getting what it needs, they're probably going to do better in school, do better in their therapies, right? So there's like this chain effect, I think, that happens, right? So, this is the program that I've created, right? So I want to tell you what exactly is missing from the current list of foods, what they're currently eating, and then I want you to learn exactly how to get them in. So I have an awesome ebook that I've created with every single vitamin and mineral, and exactly strategies on how to incorporate them in a ton of different ways, specifically for picky eaters, because I know how picky eaters think, right? So, how to get those in. And then, you get those food hierarchies. So you get sort of a plan or kind of the next step of like, okay, while we're doing this, we can also, put some new foods on the plate and start to learn about foods in a new way. It's not going to take you to the end of the picky eating. This is for that gap period. Our picky plate to clean slate course, that is the sort of transformation of picky to foodie. But this is for that gap period that I found that was just missing from even kids who are not picky eaters. They are missing out on the nutrients that they need on the days of the weeks and the months or whatever that they're not eating, a good typical diet. So, if you're ready to join us, if you haven't already registered for the free webinar, make sure you do below. There's a free gift for staying on until the end of the webinar. And there's also, right now, there's a pre-sale. So if you want to just join us in the course doesn't open until June 1st, but you get the course at a reduced rate for pre-sale. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, we have a 7-day money-back guarantee. So there's really no great reason that you can't even give it a try. Because I feel like the only thing you have to lose are all of the vitamins and nutrients that your kids aren't getting right now. And I know from personal experience how powerful it is when our kids' bodies get what they need and how well they can do and how they thrive. Even as an adult, like this is even really good just as an adult to learn how to make your meals more nutrient dense. And it's a change in perspective. It's all about making all of your meals as nutrient dense as possible, because why not? Why wouldn't you, when you know how to do better, why wouldn't you just do better, right? So it's about thinking differently about how you're making, preparing, or purchasing foods. It's about, making it count, making every meal count for as much as you possibly can. And it's easier to do than you think, because I do it all the time. And I'm so excited to share all of my tips and strategies that I use. Um, I feel like I finally compiled all of them into this one cute little program, and I'm so super pumped about it. The books, the recipe book I've made, the strategy book I've made, and of course the video with the course stuff and the reports and stuff. I'm so proud of it, and I love it so much. So I can't wait to share it with you all and get your feedback and even make it better, take it from there and continue to improve upon it. So if you're ready to join us, make sure you click the link below, and I will see you again next month in June. We'll talk more about food and kids and things like that. All right. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater. To learn more about achieving your child's feeding goals, check out Christine's website at foodologyfeeding.com. And be sure to tune in next time to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater.